Good evening, everyone. This is State Representative Brad Halbrook coming to you from the live from the Freedom and Liberty Studios deep in an underground bunker at an undisclosed location tonight. We're here to talk about the FOID and concealed carry licensing and the legislation that's working through the General Assembly, and to talk about some lawsuits that are happening. We got some breaking news today about some lawsuits. And so I am so honored to be joined with Richard Pearson of the Illinois State Rifle Association tonight. But again, we would really enjoy that if you want to reach out to myself, you can find me at rephalbrook.com or bradhalbrook.com. And Richard, they can find you at isra.org.
Yep.
isra.org. And again, we really appreciate you all joining us tonight, here tonight on this call, on this Zoom Facebook Live, to kind of discuss some of the issues swirling in and around the Second Amendment and how it's being affected, how we're being affected by that stuff here in Springfield. Richard, I'm going to kick it off. Appreciate you joining us tonight. What can you tell us today, I guess, about, number one, the biggest issue that we face in most of our offices across the state of Illinois is dealing with constituents and their FOID cards and concealed carry renewals and new applications. And I guess you've got some new news today on a lawsuit out of White County. What can you share with us about that?
We had a lady down there. Her name was Vivian Brown, and several years ago, she's a disabled lady, and she had a 22 single-shot rifle for self-defense. She was worried about her ex-husband coming and attack her. And somebody reported shots fired at her house, which was, of course, a ruse. There were no shots fired. So the police came and found her and her 22 rifle, and she didn't have a FOID card. She was eligible for a FOID card, but she didn't have a FOID card. She wasn't a prohibited person. So now the public defender, to his credit, pled a Second Amendment plea on this court case, the People versus Vivian Brown, and he prevailed. The judge said the FOID card is a violation of the Second Amendment in your own home. So that's as far as he went. It says in his own home.
Okay.
So it went up to the Illinois Supreme Court, but Ms. Brown did not have the wherewithal. So the Illinois State Rifle Association and the Second Amendment Foundation stepped in to help her. And we did. And so we argued before the Illinois Supreme Court, but because the issues in the ruling were mixed between constitutional law and Illinois state law, those had to be separated. So a year ago, it went back down to the White County Courthouse, and it was tried again. And today we got a ruling from another judge, and he clearly separated out the Second Amendment issues and said the FOID card was a violation of the Second Amendment in your home. So it didn't say it's not a blanket. It doesn't say it's everywhere. It said it's in your home. And when you do these court cases, people want us to sue and just say, fill out the FOID card. Well, you have to have cause to do that. You have to have cases to do that. You have to have witnesses to do that. You have to have money to do that. You have to have a lot of things to do that. So, but we were really gratified with the ruling today. And so it was wonderful. It's been, we've heard from people around the country already, and there are other states looking at similar things. Of course, the eastern states like New York, New Jersey, Maryland, Delaware are all much worse than Illinois. And so they're looking at this right now. And so this case will go up before the Illinois Supreme Court again. We'll be prepared to argue the case. And if we prevail there, we'll be happy. If we lose, then that's our interest to the United States Supreme Court.
Okay, well, that was the question. What's next? Does it go to the appeals court or right to the Supreme Court?
No, it's a constitutional issue.
Okay.
And so it skips the appellate court process.
Okay.
So it goes right from the circuit court to the Illinois State Supreme Court.
Okay, great. Well, that's good news. So a couple other suits you guys have been involved with. The Second Amendment Foundation and you guys have joined in a couple of other suits.
We have been very busy on lawsuits. We have our lawsuit against the failure to issue FOID cards.
Yes.
And so that is a case that is now we're waiting for a court date for oral arguments. We filed these in the Northern District in the Eastern Division of Illinois. So that's where you can find our lawsuits. We have two there. The first one is the failure to issue the FOID card. And basically, what we're doing here is when we have new applicants, and this deals with new applicants only, not that there aren't other issues, but we'll get to those.
Right.
New applicants, those people are denied their Second Amendment rights because they can't get a FOID card.
Yeah.
Okay. Sometimes it's taking 180 days. Sometimes it's taking 200 days. Sometimes it only takes 160 days. Sometimes it takes 90 days. It's all over the place.
Right.
And the problem with all of this is back in 2013, when we passed the Concealed Carry Act, we knew that money would be a problem for the Illinois State Police in guaranteeing these rights.
Mm-hmm.
So the concealed carry card is $150. Some goes to the state crime lab, some goes to the mental health fund, but $120 of it goes to the state police to administer, hire, buy equipment, and handle all the concealed carry cards, and also the FOID cards.
Mm-hmm.
When that money was given to them, you have to have plans for the money. As you know, you sit on a lot of committees.
Mm-hmm.
You just can't let the money lay around.
Mm-hmm.
And the governor has a right to sweep that money. And they did. And so Governor Quinn swept money, Governor Rauner swept money. To his credit, Governor Pritzker has not swept money, and that is really helping us
Right.
deal with this problem. And these problems are many. And so right now, I know the state police are hiring people as fast as they can hire people and trying to get this problem under control. And so, you know, it's a problem with staffing. It's a problem with, sometimes it's a problem with getting information back from the federal government, like on next checks, because state police have to depend on the federal government for a next check. And if the federal government doesn't get back to them, they can't get back to you.
Mm-hmm.
So that becomes a problem there
Mm-hmm.
with that.
Mm-hmm.
But so we have some bills out there
Mm-hmm.
that are deal with FOID cards. We have one particularly from Kathleen Willis, which is called Fix the FOID. And we're very much opposed to that bill because it requires mandatory fingerprints. Okay.
Yep.
It also requires every firearm transfer go through a federal firearms license dealer. So what that does is that, in fact, that it bans private sales of firearms. So if I wanted to sell you my .22 rifle, I couldn't do it without going to a federal dealer. In the midst of all this, then we passed. We didn't pass. It was passed. The FFL bills of a couple of years ago, and we're less than half of the federal firearms dealers that we had before. So that makes it very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, people would have to drive for miles. Plus, it would cost them a lot of money. Plus, we don't think that's the way to do it anyway. But
right.
And so we have that problem. One interesting problem, though, that occurred that nobody looked at was if you live in the city of Chicago, there are no federal firearms dealers in the city of Chicago except one, and that is the Pritzker Military Museum, and they don't do transfers. so that is a problem. You essentially disenfranchised all those people, and you've caused them you make it hard for them not to violate the law.
Right. Right.
So otherwise, you can do a private sale. Just to update everybody, you go to the state police website. I put your FOID card in. It says that you are current and you are okay, and I can fill out the state police transfer form and transfer the firearm to you.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be done by computer from just about any place. So that's a legal person-to-person sale. But this would ban all that, and it would be very, very difficult to enforce any of this stuff. In fact, it's going to cause people to simply do it illegally.
He's just going to drive it underground. So, yeah. So again, I'm here with Richard Pearson of the Illinois State Rifle Association. We're talking about HB 1091, the Kathleen Willis bill.
Right,
So
House Floor Amendment 1.
House Floor Amendment 1.
And there's a counter, the companion bill of that is in the Senate SSB 0568. And so it's the same as the Willis bill. The Willis bill had problems last Friday, didn't make it out of the House, but the bill in the Senate is still alive. There's also any time you could take another bill that has passed committee, strip out the language, and put the Willis bill in it. So we're not out of the woods yet.
So it's still time to be diligent. Diligent. Don't give up, right? So the status of SB 568 in the Senate, is that went through the committee process, or what is this? Has it been assigned to a committee? What's the status of that?
That bill at this point can be moved.
It can be moved.
Right. So we're watching that. We have deadlines in Springfield for readings and all kinds of bills. And so we're watching all those deadlines, but it's sort of like a strange football game. The goalpost can always be moved in Springfield, right?
Exactly right. Yeah. Just deadlines are kind of arbitrary sometimes.
That's right. These are the rules for this minute. The next minute we might do something else.
So we can always waive the posting requirements and waive this and that rule, and so we can do. But I guess the point is, I always have people say, "Well, I want to file witness slips," right? So that time probably has come and gone on 568.
No. I don't think
so there's still a chance.
It could go back to committee, and anytime a bill goes back to committee, you can file a witness slip on it.
Okay. All right. And they can plug into your website, and you'll send email updates or keep in touch with us. Either way, best thing would be isra.org and become a member.
That'd be good.
Right.
But the other part of this is that there's a tutorial on the website that teaches you how to register and file witness slips.
If you've not done a witness slip, you've got a great place, a great resource there to do that.
And when we send out an alert, if you're an ISRA member, or you get it any other way for that matter, you can just click on the witness slip, and the witness slip for that particular bill pops up pre-filled. All you have to do is put your name and things in it.
So just get to isra.org, and it should be right there and easy to see. And
should be.
And walk you right through it.
There's people who can't find it, but even I found it. I'm a klutz on the computer. So
the HB 1091 House Floor Amendment 1, we talked about fingerprints are mandatory for FOID cards. That's a really bad thing. Basically bans the private sale of firearms. Got to go through an FFL, which is going to lead to more delays, more expense. But now, is there a cap of $10 or something on that?
Well, what happened is the Willis bill and the SB 568 caps what a dealer can charge for a transfer at $10. But the dealer costs, depending on what part of the state you're in, run anywhere from $25 to $50.
Okay.
And so the state is actually price fixing.
Yeah. and
so what a shock.
So, I mean, the FFL is going to basically operate below their cost then.
Well, they can't do it.
They just can't afford it.
So I actually believe that's purposeful, because that just makes it harder for people to transfer guns.
Right.
So the other thing is the mandatory fingerprint also with that raises the cost of the FOID card, because the first time you have to get mandatory fingerprints. And so the FOID card goes from $10 for 10 years to $20 for 5 years.
Yeah.
And then you have to pay for your fingerprinting. So in short, the first time that you apply for your FOID card, if you're new a FOID card holder or want to be, the price goes up 1,400%. And the renewal price is up 300%. So
wow.
So those bills are anti-gun bills, and they're to push firearm owners out of the firearm owning business.
Right. Yeah. It's very unfriendly for our Second Amendment rights. So HB 1092, House Floor Amendment number 1, is there anything to talk about there? I see it expands this firearms restraining order definition, some other things.
Well, it does. It went down to defeat.
Yes.
It was actually put on postponed consideration. but
Right.
Translated, that means I haven't got the votes.
Right.
But anyway.
And we saw that Friday morning in the House.
Right.
And it lost, was defeated.
But it does some things that are really anti-human almost. It expands the stalking order to include almost anything.
Okay.
There was language in one of these bills that said any cause. Well, I don't particularly like your tie, so if you took offense to that, that could be any cause. Any cause is, we have to watch all this stuff.
Yeah.
The other thing it does, it builds a fund to promote the use of firearm protection orders against actually most people going through divorces. We've seen cases of this in which an advocate comes and tells people that if the other party, usually it's a male, but it don't always have to be, that if they own firearms, you need to get an order of protection against them, which automatically cancels their FOID card, revokes their FOID card at that time.
Right.
And I've talked to a gentleman last week, and that happened to him. Turned out the whole thing was bogus. It was dismissed in 5 days, and he's in his 5th year trying to get his FOID card back.
Yeah, so it just leads to long delays and expense to get stuff back that was potentially just trumped up and make believe stuff.
Some of the things that laws do are actually terrible. As a lobbyist, the things that we always look for are unintended consequences of these laws, and so sometimes even well-intentioned laws have bad consequences.
Right.
And so we have to really watch that.
Yeah.
So then we go on to some of the other things here. We also have the state police bill.
Yes.
State police bill has fingerprints in it, but they're voluntary fingerprints. Okay. So, for example, I have fingerprints on file for my concealed carry permit. I also work for the Department of Corrections. I was also a securities broker. That sort of thing. My fingerprints are all over the place. It doesn't. Right. Okay. Right. So I would then, what is essentially my FOID card is automatically renewed. And so essentially it becomes a lifetime FOID card. Okay. Really does.
Yeah. So there's lots of provisions in this, and I'm seeing 2 or 3 different bills. There's a Senate Bill 1165.
Senate Bill is the Senate version of this, and the House version is
745.
745.
HB 745 is the House version. SB 1165. I'm reading Senate Amendment number 1.
Right.
Okay. Now I also see an SB 2889. Is that anything that we should be concerned about, or just the SB 1165?
Just SB 1165 at the time. 2889. It was a parliamentary maneuver. You might as well just know it. Okay. If the other side can take a shell bill and move it, so can we.
Right. I understand.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's part of the political process there.
So you touched about automatic FOID card renewals under this new proposed legislation. How does that, the fingerprints, the voluntary fingerprints leans to that?
Well, yeah, but you'll still have automatic renewals without that. You just have a renewal every 10 years.
Okay.
But the argument has always been that if I'm a FOID card holder, I'm a concealed carry holder, I go through 2 background checks every night anyway. Okay. Right. Every night I go through two background checks. If my FOID card comes up tomorrow, why do I have to go through another background check? Why don't you just issue the card?
Right.
And so that's essentially where we're going with this.
Right.
What that would do is eliminate the backlog on renewals and move the concentration to issuing FOID cards for first-time people.
Okay.
All right. So there are some people who say, why don't you just sue them and why don't you just say the FOID card's null and void? Well, as you can see from the court cases that we'll talk about, we're actually working on that.
Right.
But we have a couple of obligations. One, we have an obligation to all the people who are in the system now.
Right.
We have to deal with that problem. And it's a hard problem to deal with, let me tell you. But and then we have the long term. So long term, yeah, we want to get rid of the Floyd card. We'll probably at some point when we get through all this, figure out what we've got and file a suit against the Floyd card.
Right.
Essentially, but right now, I may have 2 or 3 or 500,000 firearm owners that are disenfranchised, and I can't let that go on.
Right. Exactly.
Okay,
Right.
so I have to stop it, and any way I can. I've got great help trying to do that.
Right.
We have a lot of legislators trying to do that. And there are also some legislators, you might as well know, the anti-gunners are trying to gum up the works as much as they can.
Right.
So,
Right. Any other provisions in this FOID modernization bill that the ISP is proposing? Anything else that's important that our people need to know about?
well, there's a couple of things. Some of the money goes to the mental health system.
Mm-hmm.
Moves more money to the mental health system. It does. When people lose their FOID cards, they're revoked. So we're trying to get a suspension in there. So what that means? So I have maybe I have an order protection, and the state police only have one legal option, and that's to revoke the FOID card. We want to get in there a suspension so that the FOID card is suspended, but can simply be turned on again if the case is dismissed.
Right.
So we don't have to go through these horrible problems and all these people suffer tremendously for that. So we're trying to get that done.
Okay.
The other thing it does, it creates a portal for why your FOID card is revoked, and it ranks people. So we'll say that you forgot to renew your FOID card. Okay, you're fine. You know, they're not going to come and beat your door down. But we have a guy who is shot at somebody or beat somebody up or something like that. They get moved to the top of the list. Okay, so it's just not in order that it happens. It's in priority order of danger.
Right.
Okay. So we're trying to protect the people who simply forget to renew.
Right.
Let me tell you something though. Please don't forget to renew. It really makes my job tough.
Yeah, exactly. So, hey, we're here with Richard Pearson and Illinois State Rifle Association talking about FOID and concealed carry and legislation moving through the General Assembly. If you've got a few questions, we're going to kind of wrap this up in a few minutes. But I guess just real quick, again, the number one issue in our office is helping constituents with these cards on the renewals and the like. Richard, can you give us a history? It wasn't always this way. We didn't have this backlog a few years ago, but we've kind of morphed into this huge backlog. What can you tell us what's happened over the last several years?
Well, we backed into it several ways. Number one, the number of FOID card holders has nearly doubled in the last 10 years. Okay. And for obvious reasons. All you have to do is pick up the newspaper or turn on the TV or look at your news feed on your computer or Facebook. You understand that.
Right.
The other thing is that when the money was there, it wasn't properly used. Okay. So, and that when money is swept, by the way, you don't get it back.
It's gone.
They say you can get it back, but you don't get it back.
Interfund borrowing and all that stuff.
Right, yeah, you don't get it back. So all that has been stopped now. And so they're hiring more people. And the other thing that has happened, which helps, which adds to this problem, I mean, it's a happy problem. The number of firearm owners in the United States in the last 2 years has increased by 140%. Okay. So
big numbers.
Big numbers. Now, we talk about all the stuff like ammo shortages. Okay, so there's maybe 20 million new firearm owners. And so they all need 2 boxes of shells. That's 40 million boxes of shells. So you wonder what happened to the ammo. It's getting bought as fast as it hits the shelf.
Right.
So, but then you also have the NICS check problem, because their NICS checks, that takes staff time too. We have to do that. That's
Right.
state police staff's time. So
Right.
we have, I can't remember exactly, but I think 1 month we had 40,000 firearms, which would normally run 10 or 15,000. So that just triples that load,
Right.
So we have a compounding of problems. And so we have to get this straightened out, and it's just a tough problem to straighten out.
Right.
So,
Right. Well, again, I just urge our constituents out there, if you're experiencing a long delay, again, we're seeing delays of 10, 12, 14 plus months to get these
Right.
renewals done.
well,
And I know they have a priority on the new stuff, right? That's the
They do.
priority. But the renewals are taking a really,
Right.
really long time.
And the renewals are, we have an executive order out there, which is a patch. But the patch doesn't work very well because there are people who will not sell you ammunition or a firearm.
Right.
If you have you might have the thing from the state said you're good, but they don't care.
Right.
You can't order ammunition offline.
Right.
Because you have to have a current FOID card.
Right.
So we have all these things compounding too. And there are some people who will sell it to you, and there's some people, if you know the dealer and he knows who you are, that can be overlooked. And so we have that. So what I'm asking everybody to do, when you have your concealed carry permit come up and we have your FOID permit come up, be careful with those things. Apply for that FOID card 90 days in advance. Get in the system, So, well, you don't like the FOID system. Well, you're going to like it less if you don't have a FOID card.
So take advantage of the time you have. Do that 90 days in advance. Get it done. Right.
Do it exactly on the 90th day. Don't look at on the last day till the renewal.
Right. Right.
So you've got to get all that in there, and
right.
And so the FOID system, FOID card, is the law of the land. We may not like it, but we have to deal with reality, not as we want it to be.
Right.
And so people have to understand that the reality of the situation is that we have to work on this.
Yeah. So to be fair with ISP, they under the executive orders, they've extended some deadlines through the emergency, and that was just recently extended again just a couple of weeks ago, right? Some new dates there. But the problem we're having, I'm hearing in my office, and I'm sure my colleagues are hearing it all across the state, is the fact that the online retailers, the out-of-state retailers, and even in-state retailers are not letting them have ammo with those cards that are expired, even though they've renewed.
Yeah, and the reason is the dealer becomes very liable for that.
Right.
And so if anything goes wrong, the dealer gets hung.
Right.
And
right.
And the loss of all the firearm dealers we've had in the state, has been a problem. So the whole thing is really compounded, but we're trying to work our way through it and come to a reasonable conclusion.
Well, and that's another matter that we really haven't talked about was the new gun dealer licensing legislation.
Yeah.
We lost half our gun dealers across the state, right? Plus or minus.
So, but
it's compounding these problems.
There are some new ones coming aboard.
Right.
We'll say that. So,
right.
But they're struggling because they can't get firearms. They can't get ammunition.
Right.
It's
hard to stock shelves.
There are some people that have trouble even getting holsters. I had a class coming up here in a couple of weeks, and I needed some holsters for a couple of people that didn't have them. I had a heck of a time finding holsters for them because the holsters are going so fast.
The gear,
So if anybody wants to start making holsters in their garage, might be a
great idea. Hey, I've got a couple questions here. Let's get to, and then maybe we can wrap up with some closing remarks. So I had a question about Judge Webb ruled that the FOID card was unconstitutional. Any additional thoughts that we hadn't touched on earlier, or just kind of some thoughts for maybe folks that have joined us late?
This will go directly to the Illinois Supreme Court.
Okay.
And if we have a failure there, we don't get the ruling we want, then we can take it to the United States Supreme Court.
Right.
And I will tell you that for the first time a couple of days ago, the United States Supreme Court took the New York case.
Yes.
And the New York case is a biggie because it deals with may issue states and where you can carry your firearm and all that kind of stuff. And so we have shall issue, which is one of the things that we worked really hard to get in the state of Illinois. We sacrificed some things, but we got shall issue, and we got the city of Chicago included, all those citizens included. So the May issue state is a political football. If you know the governor, you know the mayor, you know somebody, you can get a.
You're going to be okay. Otherwise, you're on the outside looking in.
Right.
Yep.
Hawaii is a May issue state, and last year they issued exactly one permit, and it was to a politician. How strange.
Imagine that. Another question is, there's this discussion about shell bills. Okay. And folks will kind of cuss that. And maybe there are folks that like the shell bill process. What's your thoughts about shell bills?
Well, shell bills are the reality of life here. So what's a shell bill? So we have a bill that has very little language in it. One of my favorite one is it picks out a part of the law. We'll say we deal with the judicial system. So it says it changes the word it to the word it in paragraph such and such. Well, that's nonsense, but it passes out of committee. Right. It passes out of rules, goes out of committee, and is on second reading.
Right.
Then somebody can come in, they strip those two little words out of there, or three, and add totally new language. And that is what happened with Representative Willis's bill. Mm-hmm. She took a bill that was out there, stripped out all the language and put new language in. Right. It had nothing to do with it.
Right.
One of the things I want to tell everyone is you have to look for the amendments on those bills.
Right.
If you go and we had one that dealt with the bail bonds, and what was it, a few years ago, and people were calling me up, you're crazy, this deals with bail bonds. The title of the bill stays the same, the content becomes something else.
Right.
Okay, so you have to go through the amendment process.
Right.
And if you look at, you start with the bottom amendment number 6, amendment number 5, amendment number 4, work your way backwards. If people don't remember, but this is one of my longer days at the Capitol, or longer few days, when we had passed concealed carry, there were 72 amendments to that bill.
Wow. Right.
So, and it is a long, agonizing process.
Yeah. So most of our viewers, I'm sure, are aware of ilga.gov. That's where they find stuff. Over on the left side, there's a little box. First thing, there's cursors popped up in there. You can type in your bill number, go right to the status page, scroll through that status page, look for those amendments down there at the bottom. And again, like you say, the title may not have anything to do
Doesn't have anything to do with it.
Right. And so you'll see these gut and replace amendments that are popped in there. And what we see on these really controversial bills, the closer we get to May 31st, the more of that stuff happens.
The crazier it gets. That's exactly it. And that's why the Illinois State Rifle Association has 5 lobbyists here. Why would we need 5 lobbyists? Because if you don't have 5 lobbyists, you're going to get beat. That's why.
Right. It's more than a full-time job. Another question we're talking here is about the ammo. You touched on that earlier about the amount of folks that are buying firearms and the like, and just the sheer demand. So are we seeing a shortage because of the demand? Are we seeing hoarding, or is it all of the above?
The answer is yes. But one thing that happened about this time last year, maybe, or somebody will correct me on this, but Remington went into bankruptcy.
Okay.
Remington was a major ammo supplier, and I believe a week ago, last Monday, they were purchased by a company called Vista Outdoors.
Okay.
And Remington went back online at full production. They have hired 4,000 employees in their plant in Arkansas, and they're running 24/7 literally. So now, of course, it has to go through the supply chain, all that sort of thing, through wholesalers and whatnot,
right?
All the things that has to be delivered,
right?
And so that ammo is coming back online. So I am hopeful that by June or July we should see relief in the ammo. I watched the prices online, and we're seeing it drop. It's still atrocious, but it's less than it used to be.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Well, that's kind of all the questions I'm seeing here. Richard, any closing comments, any additional things we didn't touch on tonight as we kind of close this out?
Well, it's a quick thumbnail sketch of what's going on here in Springfield, and there'll be something else tomorrow. But I'm, with the Illinois State Rifle Association, work really hard at representing gun owners. A lot of people don't always agree with what we do, but our goal is always to secure the Second Amendment.
Right.
Sometimes I tell everybody that when you're in Springfield, if If you think you're on a straight line to solve a problem, somebody's tricking you.
right.
You're walking into a trap. So it's a very crooked path to
Right.
get to the end goal, but we're
Right.
always working for that.
Yeah, excellent. Well, again, you can reach out to Richard at isra.org. Myself is rephalbrook.com or bradhalbrook.com. I really appreciate you come on with me tonight and do this. And it's a great way to connect with our constituents. And we've shared this stream on others, reps across the state. And so, again, let us know how we can help you. Again, work with our district office staff, and we can try to help maybe get a status update on your card. Do what we can to see what's going on with that. Sometimes there's a paperwork glitch somewhere, and we can find that and kind of help speed the process up. You know, just because paperwork didn't get done properly or something's not right.
Well, whenever you're filling out that app for FOID renewal or new FOID, you be very, very careful. Very careful. You answer one question wrong, you're probably 24 months and straighten it out.
Yeah, I know we had a situation in the office about 3-4 years ago where they did it on their phone and they touched the wrong button.
You can't do it on your phone.
You about got to do it from a laptop or a desktop just to make sure that you can fully see that.
You can't do it from an iPad either.
Yeah.
Or a tablet. You have to do it from a desktop.
Yeah. So just make sure about that. But again, if you have any questions navigating that, reach out to us in our district offices and we'll do our level best to help you. Richard, thank you. Appreciate it, guys. We're going to sign off and let us know how we can help you. Talk soon. Thanks again, guys.
Good night.
Good night.